Hello, dear friend. How gentle it is that we meet again. In this quiet moment. Tonight, we will step together into a slow and unhurried journey where the soft secrets of ancient Zen masters are whispered once more. Like wind passing through leaves, like water flowing over stone. These are ancient keys, not meant to open any outer door, but to gently unlock the silence that has always been present within your own mind. If you wish, you may quietly know where you are and what hour you are listening. No need to say it aloud. Just notice and let go. The stories that are about to arrive are not for thinking, not for remembering. They come like very small waves, carrying truths often forgotten about how the mind imprisons itself in worry, in endless thinking, in the feeling of never being enough. These are not merely stories for the evening. They are quiet transmissions, echoing from awakened minds. Those who realized something very simple. True rest is not a place we arrive at, but a path we gradually recognize within. Zen Master Dogen once said, "To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. And when the self is forgotten, all things become light." Tonight, we allow these old stories to help us forget the self that is always worrying, always striving, always carrying too much. As these words drift by, you may notice the sounds of the long day beginning to settle. The weight in your chest becomes just a little lighter. No effort is needed. You are being guided back to a very natural state, deep awareness and gentle rest. So, allow yourself to soften. Set today down. Breathe it deeply, and as you breathe out, let your mind open to receive wisdom that has crossed centuries to meet you in this very moment. Now, we begin with a story about compassion and the burden human beings so often place upon themselves. In a peaceful monastery, nestled among lush green hills, there lived a young monk named Kenji. Kenji lived with complete sincerity. Each morning, he rose before dawn to sit in meditation while dew still clung to the grass. Each evening, he walked quietly around the temple grounds, each step slow, each breath clear. Everyone could see his diligence. But deep inside, something was growing heavier. Each day, as Kenji read news from the outside world or listened to travelers' stories, his heart sank. Wars in distant lands. Children starving in nearby villages. Illness spreading. And cruelty seeming to appear everywhere he looked. All of this suffering pressed upon his chest like a mountain. So much so that even breathing became difficult, let alone finding the peace his practice had promised. One morning, unable to bear it any longer, Kenji went to see his teacher, Zen Master Rashi Tanaka, who was tending the monastery's small garden. The old master moved very slowly, pulling weeds one by one with hands roughened by years, yet filled with gentleness. "Master," Kenji spoke, pain resting in every word. "I feel the suffering of all beings weighing on my heart. War, poverty, illness, and human cruelty. All of it leaves me breathless. How can I rest in peace when the world is in such pain? How can I sit in meditation while others are suffering?" Zen Master Tanaka looked up. His eyes were kind and very deep. He said nothing. He only gestured softly toward a large stone, smooth and rounded, lying beside the garden path. The stone was beautiful in a simple way, shaped by time and flowing water. But anyone could tell it was very heavy. "Lift it," the master said quietly. Kenji was surprised, but he bent down. He gathered his strength and raised the stone. It was heavier than he expected. His muscles tightened. His back began to ache. "Now," the Zen master said, turning back to his weeding, "carry it with you for the entire day. Do not set it down. Carry it into meditation, into your meals, into your work, and even into your rest. Let it stay with you." Kenji obeyed, though he did not understand. He carried the stone everywhere throughout the long day. During morning meditation, Kenji's hands trembled as he tried to hold the stone on his lap. The breath still moved in and out, but within each breath there was tension and exhaustion. At mealtime he could barely eat. The stone lay there, silent, yet unbearably heavy. When sweeping the temple courtyard, movements that were once familiar became clumsy. The broom struck the ground unevenly. His steps lost their rhythm. By late afternoon, his shoulders were screaming with pain. And as sunset arrived, Kenji's entire body was left with nothing but deep fatigue. His face grew pale. Sweat beaded on his skin, even though the evening air had grown cool. He staggered back to the garden, where the old master still sat in silence. "Master," Kenji gasped for breath, his voice nearly breaking. I can't carry it anymore. This stone is wearing down my body, and my spirit as well. I feel like I'm about to collapse." Zen Master Tanaka looked at him for a long while. His eyes held no blame, no urgency, only quiet compassion. "Then," he said very softly, "put it down." Kenji opened his hands. The stone fell to the ground with a deep, dull sound, echoing gently through the still garden. At once, a wave of relief spread through his body. His shoulders dropped. His breath grew deeper, as if his entire being had suddenly become empty and light. Simply no longer carrying that burden was already a very quiet joy. The master set his gardening tools aside and turned to face his student. "The suffering of the world," he said slowly, "is like that stone. It is real, and it is heavy. Your compassion is something beautiful. Never lose it. But you were not born to carry all the suffering of the world on your shoulders. You were born to see it, to understand its weight, to feel it deeply, and then to set it down, so your hands remain free to help where you truly can." The Buddha once taught, "We are not punished for our anger, but punished by our anger." This ancient teaching illuminates a deep truth about compassion. When we carry the whole pain of the world inside our hearts, we become too heavy to truly help anyone. Why do we so often pick up stones that are not ours? Zen points to very familiar tendencies of the mind. First, we become overwhelmed by the pain around us, until we are frozen. Second, the quiet self wants to become the savior, the one who fixes everything. Third, we struggle to tell the difference between healthy care and destructive worry, between compassion and shared suffering. True compassion does not drain us dry. It requires a gentle non-attachment, not coldness, but the ability to feel deeply without being submerged. Like a physician who tends a wound without carrying the patient's pain, we learn to help the world from clarity, not from emotional fusion. Look back on your own life, very gently. How many times have you scrolled past sad news, one story after another, only to feel empty and helpless? How many times have you carried someone else's sorrow as if it were your own burden? Each time, we pick up another stone. And the more stones we carry, the harder it becomes to walk. Zen Master Suzuki Roshi once said, "You are already perfect just as you are, and you can still learn a little more." That learning is not about carrying more stones, but about knowing when to lift one up and when to set it down. When we stop carrying stones that are not ours, we have enough strength to do our own work with our whole heart. And then, as this journey continues to flow, we arrive at another story. A story about recognition and true value. They call it the mind like a stone. Long ago, there was a young monk named Hogan. He crossed mountains, passed rivers, to reach a renowned monastery in China, where Zen master Zhaozhou taught. The master's reputation had traveled far. People said a single word from him was enough to awaken the listener's mind. When Hogan arrived, he poured all his passion into practice. He woke before dawn, sat in meditation, tended the garden, worked in the kitchen, studied sutras, listened to teachings. Day after day, week after week, he waited for a sign, a glance, a personal word of guidance. But months passed, and the master seemed not to notice him at all. The master's gaze passed right over him, as if he weren't there. Hogan's questions received only the briefest replies. No private interviews, no praise, acknowledgement. Meanwhile, others seemed to receive more attention. Slowly, Hogan's passion turned into doubt. Maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I have no value. Finally, unable to bear the feeling of being invisible, Hogan approached the master in the morning garden. "Master," he said, his voice wounded, "I've tried with all my heart, but I receive no guidance at all. I feel like a useless stone forgotten in this monastery courtyard. Perhaps I should leave." The master looked at him, eyes bright, with the hint of a smile. He gestured around the yard. "Do you see these stones?" "Yes, master." "Do you sit on them when you need to rest?" "No, master." "Do you kick them when you're angry?" "No, master." "Do you ask them to be different?" Hogan fell silent. The master spoke slowly. "This entire monastery stands because of them. They do not demand. They do not seek recognition. Yet everything rests upon them." He paused. "If you truly understand what it means to be a stone, you are already free." In that moment, Hogan's mind opened. He saw that his need to be noticed was what had obscured his true worth. Like the stones beneath our feet, you have always been supporting everything without needing to be seen. From a very young age, we are taught to measure our worth through grades, through rewards, through praise, through comparison, better or worse. These lessons sink in deeply. So deeply that when we step onto a spiritual path, we unknowingly carry them with us. We begin to seek awakening as another achievement, something to attain, a spiritual title, and we forget that ease and peace were never things to be achieved, but the very nature that has always been here. There are moments when it becomes hard to tell the difference between healthy humility and the subtle accumulation of ego. Even sincere practice can be turned into a way of making the self feel more special. We want to be seen as good meditators, to be recognized as devoted practitioners, to be regarded as awakened. And in that very moment, we forget a deep paradox. True awakening includes the dissolving of the self that wants to awaken. Gently look back at yourself, very softly. How many times have you longed for recognition at work? How many times have you waited for a word of praise from your family? How many times have you felt a quiet sting when others were celebrated and you were not? Just notice. Nothing needs to be fixed. This seeking mind places our peace into the hands of others, and so it never truly rests. Like Hogan in the story, we can spend enormous energy trying to be seen without realizing the deep value of quiet presence. Zen Master Dogen once said, "To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self." This forgetting is not neglect. It is releasing the attachment to needing to be special. Then we serve the world from natural fullness, not from the emptiness of the ego. A mind like a stone is the beginner's mind, willing to be ordinary, to work without display, to stand steady so others may lean, not shrinking yourself, not hiding your abilities, but offering them freely without clinging to outcomes or responses. In everyday life, a mind like a stone means doing the work simply to do the work, listening to someone just to listen, sitting in meditation just to sit, not seeking special feelings, not hoping for unusual experiences. Tonight, if you notice yourself searching for recognition or feeling forgotten, try sensing the relief of no longer needing to be special. In that moment, a very quiet dignity naturally appears, like the stones silently supporting the temple. The Buddha once said, "Better than 1,000 empty words is one word that brings peace." The deepest words often come from those who do not stand in the spotlight, but quietly hold everything steady and whole. And now, let the next story slowly unfold. A story about roles and the masks we wear in life. It is called The Official's Visit. Long ago, in the ancient capital of Kyoto, where cherry blossoms fell by the river and temples stood beside market streets, there lived a man of very high rank. Governor Nakamura was responsible for thousands of lives. His days were filled with rituals, weighty decisions, and deep bows. Each morning, attendants dressed him in fine silk robes. Every word had to be measured. Every gesture carried authority. His title lifted him up, and yet also separated him. And despite his success, his heart grew quietly empty. He heard stories of a Zen master who could see through all forms. After many months of reflection, he decided to seek him out. That morning, he arrived at the Zen master's humble hut with a large entourage. Silk robes whispered. Seals of office shimmered. A servant spoke on his behalf, offering a long introduction. Titles upon titles. Names stacked on names. The Zen master listened, then replied with a single, very soft sentence, "I do not meet those titles." The door closed, and in that very moment, something fell away inside the official's mind. He understood. He dismissed his attendants, removed the silk robes, washed away the powder and paint, tied his hair simply back. Alone, he knocked on the door. "Master," he said in a voice newly honest, "my name is Dado." The door opened. A gentle smile appeared. "Dado," said the Zen master, "I have been waiting for you." When titles fall away, the true person can finally enter. Even after sitting in meditation for countless hours, even after tending carefully to every small detail of monastery life, awakening can still feel very far away. The nun Chiono had studied the ancient koans, memorized the foundational sutras. She could speak of the teachings clearly and precisely. Yet what the teachers kept pointing to, the moment of seeing one's true nature, direct knowing, unmistakable, had not arrived. In the monastery, some fellow practitioners had passed through moments of transformation. Chiono had seen the light on their faces. heard them speak of a new freedom, of how the world suddenly appeared strangely clear and fresh. For her, practice still felt heavy. Understanding remained in concepts. Liberation was still only a promise. Time passed. A very subtle impatience began to slip in. She sat longer in meditation, hoping a breakthrough would come with just a little more effort. She examined herself. Was she doing something wrong? Missing something? Lacking some ability? But the more she tried to grasp, the farther everything seemed. One late autumn evening, after a long day of retreat, both body and mind were exhausted. She drew water from the well to prepare her evening tea. The old bamboo bucket was simple, woven from thin slats that had served the monastery for many years. As she walked across the courtyard, the full moon was perfectly reflected on the still surface of the water. The reflection was so beautiful she paused. Silver light trembled with each step, like a living meditation on real and reflected, on the moon in the sky and the moon in the water. But the bucket had reached its end. The old bindings could no longer hold. In the silent courtyard, suddenly, the bottom gave way. Water spilled onto the stone path, soaked her robes, ran into the earth, and disappeared. At the same moment, the moon in the water vanished too, as if it had never been. In that instant, when the water was gone, when the image vanished, when the bucket was nothing but scattered pieces, something opened. No thinking, no conclusion. Chiono saw clearly that what she had been seeking all along had never been in the bucket. Awakening is like the moon in water. Beautiful, compelling, but only a reflection. When she stopped trying to hold the image, when the bucket of grasping mind collapsed on its own, what remained was not an idea of awareness, but awareness itself, present. Standing in the moonlit courtyard, holding broken bamboo pieces, water soaking into the earth, Chiono laughed. The laughter rang softly, clear, and light. That night she wrote a verse. I tried to mend the bucket with everything I could. Then the bottom fell out. No water, no moon in the water. This story touches a very deep paradox. The more we try to grasp, the more we reinforce the sense of separation that awareness dissolves. Why is it so hard to let go, even when holding on exhausts us? Zen calls this the seeking mind, the belief that peace exists somewhere else outside this moment. So we cling to methods, techniques, understanding, as if the finger pointing at the moon were the moon. Then we cling even to enlightenment itself, turning it into something to attain, a spiritual title. But the one who seeks and what is sought have never been separate. When the expert mind collapses, like the old bucket, the beginner's mind appears. Nothing added, nothing missing. Practice is not abandoning practice. It is practicing without carrying a burden. Sitting, just sitting. Learning, just learning. Living, just living. Tonight, if you are trying to hold on to an image of yourself, a goal you must reach, a person you think you should be, try letting the bottom of the bucket fall away. What remains when there is nothing left to hold? The Buddha taught, letting go is freedom, and freedom is the ground of happiness. When the water pours out, when the image dissolves, the moon is still there, closer than you ever thought. And now, we come to another story. A story about a miracle that is very ordinary. People call it the true miracle. Zen Master Bankei was famous throughout Japan for his direct way of teaching. No elaborate rituals. No mystical performances. just pointing directly to what is already here. One day, a practitioner from another lineage came to visit. This man had followed a teacher known for unusual powers. The visitor sat quietly. Inside, he was still waiting for something extraordinary, perhaps a miracle, perhaps a supernatural sign. The meditation hall grew still. The students turned toward Master Bankei, waiting. The Zen master remained unmoving for a few breaths. Not defending, not rejecting, simply present, complete, like this very moment. Then he spoke. His voice was light as morning air, no more, no less. It may be true that your teacher could do such things. I do not doubt what you have seen, and I do not judge. A short pause. But that is not my path. Those powers do not concern me. The visitor felt a flicker of disappointment. With a trace of impatience, he asked, "Then, what makes your enlightenment? What is your miracle?" The Zen master's eyes softened. A very slight smile appeared. "My miracle is this," he said slowly. "When I'm hungry, I eat. When I'm thirsty, I drink. When I'm tired, I sleep. When spring comes, I see flowers bloom. When winter arrives, I see snow fall. That is all." The meditation hall fell into deep stillness. Not an empty silence, but a silence listening to itself. The visitor, who had come seeking the extraordinary, now faced the most ordinary thing of all. The Buddha once taught, there are only two mistakes on the path of truth, not beginning and not going all the way. The heart of this teaching is not about miracles, but about seeing that the miracle is already present in each very ordinary moment. Why do we so often miss the wonder of everyday life? In the Zen spirit, there are deep habits that cloud our seeing. First, the hunger for spiritual spectacle. We believe awakening must be dramatic, supernatural, extraordinary. Second, familiarity. The breath, the gaze, the feeling of being alive. They are too close, and so they become invisible. Third, the habit of chasing achievement. We believe what is profound must be complex, that truth must be somewhere far away. But if reality is as simple as eating when hungry and sleeping when tired, then the entire structure of thought collapses. Right now, notice. You are breathing. No effort. No control. Your heart is beating. Quietly. Asking nothing from your understanding. Meaning is forming in your mind from very simple sounds. These things are familiar, but never trivial. Zen calls this natural functioning. When the mind does not interfere, action arises on its own. No forcing. No calculation. Dogen once wrote, "To study the way is to study the self. To study the self is to forget the self. To forget the self is to be illuminated by all things." When we stop trying to be special, we return to what is. Eating when hungry. Speaking when speaking is needed. Being silent when silence is enough. And now, as you prepare to enter sleep, feel this very small miracle. The body growing heavier. The breath slowing. Thoughts dissolving on their own. Nothing more needs to be done. And from here, we move into another story. A very old story, very familiar, yet often forgotten. The story of the fish and the ocean. In the deep waters of the Great Sea, a small fish swims restlessly. Around it are coral, currents, shimmering light. Yet inside, a question arises. It approaches an old turtle, its shell cracked by time. "Elder, The fish asks, "Everyone speaks of the ocean, but I search and search and cannot find it anywhere." The old turtle smiles. "The ocean," it says, "is what surrounds you, what is within you, and what has never left you." The fish looks around, confused. "I only see water." "Exactly," the turtle replies. "You have never been outside the ocean, so you cannot see it." So it is, we are living within the way, within the flow of life. But because it is so close, we forget. Just like sleep, which is drawing very near now. You do not need to look for it. No effort is required. Simply let go and allow the current to carry you. Breathing in, breathing out. The ocean has never left the fish, and sleep has never left you. All you need to do is stop searching and rest. Lao Tzu once said, "The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao." And yet, right here, right now, we are still using words to gently point to something beyond words. This is the tender paradox of every spiritual path. We use the finite to hint at the infinite. We know the finger pointing at the moon is never the moon itself, but without the finger, many would never look up. Tonight, as you lie still, there is nothing you need to control. Simply notice the breath moving softly in and out of your body. You do not command it. You do not manage it. And yet it continues, steady, silent, precise. In this simple movement, can you sense an intelligence operating on its own? The same intelligence that keeps the stars in their courses, that brings spring and lets it go, that causes leaves to fall at the right moment and flowers to bloom in their time. The Buddha taught, "Look within. You yourself are the Buddha." You are not separate from the ocean of life, just as a wave is never separate from the sea. When this non-separation is seen, we stop searching for the way and begin living as the awake expression of the way itself. And on this gentle Zen journey, let us listen together to an old story about contentment and the nature of desire. The journey of the stonecutter. High in mountain villages, deep among the peaks, there lived a stonecutter who led a very simple life. Each morning, he lifted his tools onto his shoulder and followed winding paths up to the quarry. Amid the sound of hammer and stone, he softly sang ancient songs of the mountains, his voice echoing through quiet valleys. By the world's measure, he was poor. A small hut, a few belongings, no wealth. But in his heart, nothing was missing. The steady rhythm of work, the cool mountain wind, the deep satisfaction of an honest day's labor. His mind was at ease. No worry, no lack. Until one day he was summoned to work on the estate of a wealthy nobleman. Towering stone pillars, perfectly arranged gardens, shimmering luxury, his heart stirred. For the first time, a sharp edge of desire pierced his quiet contentment. "If only I were rich like this," he sighed. "I wouldn't have to work so hard." At that very moment, a gentle voice arose from the stone itself. "What you wish for shall be granted." When he returned home, his humble hut had become a grand mansion. He set aside his hammer, immersed himself in comfort, in pleasure. But then, on a sweltering afternoon, from a lavish window, he saw the king's procession. The king sat in shade, attended by servants, majestic, unmoving in the heat. If only I were the king, the thought had barely formed when he found himself seated in the royal carriage. Yet even there, the heat pressed through. Nothing could block it. "I want to be the sun." And he became the sun, radiating across the sky, until dark clouds gathered, blocking all his light. I want to be a cloud." He became a vast cloud, pouring rain upon the earth, until the rushing water met a massive stone that stopped it completely. A mere rock, stronger than me? I want to be stone. He became stone, solid, still, unmoving, until he heard a steady tapping from below. A small stone cutter was striking his surface. A human, stronger even than stone. I want to be human again. And he returned as the stone cutter, walking the familiar path. But this time, everything was different. His song was deeper. The mountain wind felt cooler. His heart was full of contentment. The Buddha said, "Health is the greatest gift. Contentment is the greatest wealth." This story illuminates the endless loop of desire. Each attainment gives birth to another want. Happiness is always pushed ahead. But peace appears only when we stop. Suzuki Roshi said, "You are already complete, and you can still continue learning." No contradiction, only awakening. Tonight, when your mind runs toward what you do not yet have, try stopping, like the stone cutter after a long journey. Just listen. Just breathe. Just be. For the greatest transformation is not becoming someone else, but realizing you were never missing anything at all. And then we listen to another story. A story about the difference between understanding and true awakening. A story about a teacher who believed he had arrived. But it is a journey that opens with the very next breath. Right now, you do not need to think anymore. Let the story gently dissolve into sleep, like the breath that already knows how to return home. Zen Master Dogen once taught, "Practice and enlightenment are one." This means the quality of awareness in any single moment is both the path and the destination. There is no boundary between still practicing and already understanding. Each passing moment is complete, is sufficient, is enough to awaken. The question of Zen Master Nanin was never truly about the umbrella or the wooden sandals. He was listening to how deeply Tenno's practice had permeated his everyday life. Could Tenno maintain that presence while doing unconscious tasks, habitual, repetitive actions? Or was he only awake when he stepped into the meditation hall? The Buddha taught, mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Carelessness is the path to death. One who lives mindfully is truly alive. One who is careless, though still breathing, is already asleep. True life is not found in intensity, but in full presence. And that presence can be cultivated in any action, no matter how small or ordinary it seems. Gently look back at yourself. There are things you consider worthy of your attention, and other things you let the mind run on autopilot. This is not meant to make us tense or overly controlling, but to help us see that the power of awareness was never limited to special moments. The gentle paradox is this: the most ordinary moments are often the deepest doors to awakening. When we sit in meditation, we hope to be mindful. But when placing our sandals, folding a shirt, or preparing things for tomorrow, we truly see whether the practice has taken root. In Zen monasteries, it is taught that washing dishes is as sacred as chanting sutras. Sweeping the courtyard is as important as studying the teachings. Not because those tasks are special, but because the state of mind we bring with us is what gives them meaning. Zen Master Thich Nhat Hanh once said, "Washing dishes is not just to have clean dishes. Washing dishes is to live fully in each moment." That was the lesson Nanin offered to Tenno. Every action is a doorway. Tenno practiced deeply during scheduled periods, but that awareness had not yet dissolved into the natural flow of daily life. He knew how to be mindful when he remembered to be mindful, but he had not yet allowed mindfulness to become his ground state. And that is the subtle boundary between spiritual knowledge and true maturity. Tonight, as you do the last tasks of the day, brushing your teeth, changing clothes, tidying your space, try bringing a very gentle attention. No need to be perfect, just be present, and see how far the practice has reached into those quiet habits. The Buddha reminds us, every moment is a teacher, every place is a classroom. The umbrella beside the sandals became Tenno's teacher that day, pointing precisely to where the practice needed to deepen. Sometimes, the greatest lessons were the most ordinary forms. For awakening is not about escaping daily life, but about the capacity to recognize the sacred hidden within daily life itself. Now, we quietly step into another story. A story about the very thin boundary between heaven and hell within the human heart. The warrior and the gate. In feudal Japan, there lived a seasoned warrior named Nuiji. The armor he wore was marked with traces of countless battles. His eyes were heavy with all he had seen and all he had lost. One day, he sought out Zen Master Hakuin, carrying a question that had smoldered in his heart for a long time. "Master," he bowed stiffly, "I have faced death many times. Please speak honestly, do heaven and hell truly exist?" Hakuin looked at him, his gaze deep and still. "Who are you to ask such a question?" the master replied. "I am a warrior," Nuiji answered, lifting his chin. "I serve my lord with honor." Hakuin's face suddenly turned cold. "And you?" the master said, with a faint smile. "A rough soul, like a beggar, daring to call himself a noble guardian?" His words struck directly at Nuiji's pride. Blood rushed to his face. His hand went to the hilt of his sword. "Your sword?" Hakuin continued, his voice sharp with challenge. "Perhaps it's not even sharp enough to cut through a piece of paper." Anger flared. Nuiji drew his sword. His body trembled. His mind narrowed to a single aim. At that very moment, Hakuin spoke, clear and still. "This is the gate of hell." The words pierced Nuiji's mind. He suddenly saw himself, swallowed by rage, ready to kill over wounded pride. Hell was nowhere else. It was right here, in this very moment. His hand slowly lowered. The sword slid back into its sheath. He bowed deeply. Hakuin's voice softened. "And this is the gate of heaven." The Buddha taught, hatred cannot destroy hatred. Only compassion can transform it. Heaven and hell are not places we go after death. They are states we step into while still alive. Every moment is a choice. When we react unconsciously, we open the gate to hell. When we notice and pause, we step into heaven. Gently observe your own life. A critical email, a careless word, a car cutting you off. In just a few seconds, a peaceful morning can turn into a narrowed, troubled world. Zen teaches us to recognize that moment of transformation. Just like the warrior drawing his sword. Simply seeing, the gate shifts its direction. Zen Master Huangpa said, "The fool rejects what he sees. The wise release what he thinks." When carried away by reaction, we refuse the present, chasing ideas of how things should be. Hakuin's words were not insults, but sharp compassion. He helped Nuiji see the hell he created himself. Tonight, when an unpleasant emotion arises quietly within you, remember that moment. No need to resist. just see. And in that seeing, the gate opens by itself. Now, we prepare to step into another story about outer circumstances and inner cultivation. But right now, you do not need to remember anything. Let all stories settle down, like dust falling, like the breath finding its way back to deep and gentle sleep. What are you doing? The warrior continued, caught in irritation and anger. The horse panicked more, and the panic only made the man want to force obedience through violence. This time, in the master's voice there was something that cut through the fog of anger. The warrior paused. He jumped off the horse and walked toward the riverbank. The closer he got, his expression slowly changed. From this once unknown man emanated a presence that made others naturally stop. Not authority, but deep stillness. "You just scolded me," the warrior said, his voice still tinged with annoyance, but now mixed with curiosity. "What did you mean?" The Zen master looked at him with compassion. Not at an enemy, but at a human trapped in familiar loops of suffering. He spoke slowly. "Instead of striking the horse because it will not obey, why not turn back and train your own mind?" His words hung quietly in the air, like a bridge connecting two entirely different ways of being. The warrior had tried to solve difficulty by controlling the outside. The master pointed to a different path. The Buddha taught, overcome anger with non-anger. Overcome evil with goodness. Overcome greed with generosity. Overcome deceit with truthfulness. This story reveals a deep truth. Outer conflicts often mirror our inner state. We cannot force life to go our way through anger or coercion. The image of the warrior striking the horse is how we often treat life. When circumstances are inconvenient, we blame. When things go wrong, we force control. When others do not obey, we try to dominate, without realizing that the real work is always within. Why do we so easily blame external circumstances? Buddhism points out that an untrained mind always seeks comfort by controlling the world, rather than learning to flow with what is happening. Zen calls this pushing the river, wearing yourself out by forcing reality to be different. Look back at everyday life. The computer crashes and we get angry, while the root cause is attachment to everything working perfectly. Traffic jams make us irritable, while the deeper cause is belief that the road must always be clear. A loved one ignores advice, and we feel frustrated, while the true pain is our need to control their choices. In all these situations, we are like the warrior striking the horse, reacting outside, forgetting what is happening inside. The horse represents what cannot be controlled: others' behavior, unexpected events, the weather, and life's impermanence. A Zen master once wrote, "You are the sky. Everything else is just weather." Instead of trying to control life's clouds and storms, we can learn to become the wide sky itself. True practice is not about forcing the world to change, but about learning to work with your own mind. This does not mean being passive or accepting what is harmful. It means facing challenges from a place of stillness, rather than reacting in anger. The Buddha offers us gentle methods, mindfulness, to see our reactions without being swept away. Compassion, to embrace ourselves and others when things are not as we wish. Contemplation of impermanence, to remember that all circumstances are always changing. Tonight, when you encounter a small irritation, remember the teaching of Bankei. When you feel the urge to strike the horse of circumstance, pause and ask yourself, what would happen if I turned inward to train my mind? The Buddha teaches, Hatred cannot end hatred. Only the absence of hatred can bring peace. The path to serenity does not lie in conquering the world, but in nurturing an inner strength that remains steady through all change. And then we step into another story. A story of inner balance in the face of praise and blame, gain and loss, honor and shame. Is that so? Zen Master Hakuin lived in a small village. He was respected for his wisdom, compassion, and simple, pure life. For many years, he was seen as a model teacher beyond the weaknesses of ordinary life. Villagers came to him for guidance and spiritual refuge. In that village lived a beautiful young woman. When she became pregnant out of wedlock, a shockwave rippled through the small community. Her parents were angry, demanding to know who had brought such shame. At first, she was silent, trying to protect the one she loved. But pressure grew too great. In panic, she pointed toward the one she believed could bear everything, Zen Master Hakuin. When her parents approached him, they expected opposition, an explanation, or anger. But Hakuin simply listened and said softly, "Is that so?" The rumors spread quickly. Respect vanished. Students left. His reputation crumbled. When the child was born, her parents brought the baby to him. "This is your responsibility." Hakuin took the child, still saying only, "Is that so?" He cared for the baby with complete tenderness. Feeding, staying awake at night, loving as if the child were his own. Finally, the truth came out. Her parents returned, apologizing through tears. Hakuin handed the child back and still said, "Is that so?" The Buddha teaches, hatred cannot extinguish hatred. Only love can. Hakuin was not indifferent. He was free. He did not let reputation, praise or blame, or injustice control his mind. He taught that true peace does not depend on how life treats us. Tonight, when you are misunderstood, judged, or treated unfairly, remember these words, "Is that so?" Between what happens and how we respond, there is always a space. And in that space, peaceful sleep awaits you. Now, all stories can settle down. No need to understand. No need to remember. Just breathe, and let your mind drift gently into a deep and kind sleep. The sixth patriarch stands. The sixth patriarch stood quietly. He took the wooden teaching stick and stepped before Shenhui. No scolding, no anger. 3 sharp strikes rang out. Quick, decisive, strong enough for a sudden sting to travel through the young student's shoulder. Shenhui's body shivered. His mind wavered, not because of pain, but because he did not understand. The patriarch looked at him, calm as if speaking of drifting clouds or a gentle wind. "When I strike you, do you feel pain or not?" Shenhui rubbed his shoulder, breath still uneven. The question seemed simple, yet he felt something deeper being touched. The feeling in the body was real, but its meaning was not simple. After a pause, he answered slowly, "Both pain and no pain." The sixth patriarch nodded lightly, eyes neither praising nor blaming. "So it is with me. I both see and do not see." These words are not theory, but lived experience. Yet Shenhui's mind would not rest. He still wanted to understand, to grasp, to categorize. "How can one both see and not see?" he asked, confused. "Either you see or you do not. How can it be both?" The patriarch smiled, the smile of one who has passed through countless illusions. "What I see," he said slowly, "is the wandering, arising and fading of my own mind. And what I do not see," he continued, Is the right or wrong, the good or bad of others? That is seeing and also not seeing. In that moment, the teaching became transparent. Not magic, not mysticism, but maturity in the way of seeing life. The Buddha once taught, the mind leads all things. The mind creates the world. Yet the mind often moves between two shores, pain or no pain, right or wrong, good or bad. Meditation does not erase feeling. It simply changes how we sit with it. Pain still arises, but it is no longer me. Thoughts still come, but we are no longer swept away. The sixth patriarch saw clearly every movement within himself. It was not magic, but the natural result of long, deep awareness. And at the same time, he did not see in the way that judges others. No labels, no blame, no measurement. This is not blindness. It is wisdom. For when we judge, we often only see the shadows of ourselves. When someone irritates us, do we truly see them, or only the unhealed wounds within our own hearts? When someone inspires admiration, do we see them, or only the desire for our own worth to be recognized? Zen calls this the clear mirror. The mirror reflects all things without holding anything. No speck of dust can stain it. Those 3 strikes of the staff were not punishment. They were teaching through the body. Pain arises, felt fully, and then dissolves. But awareness remains intact. Just as feelings, thoughts, fears, and joy come and go within the space of mind. If we do not identify with them, they cannot bind us. Tonight, as your mind grows quiet, try noticing the last thoughts of the day drifting by. No need to fix them. No need to push them away. Just see them. See your own movements. And release judgment of others. Zen Master Daoyuan once said, "To study the way is to study yourself. To study yourself is to forget yourself." When we stop looking outward, we begin to return home. And from that return, compassion naturally arises. Not long after, in the quiet garden of a monastery, as flowers fell softly like the last snow of the season, a young disciple sat down beside his teacher at sunset. The evening light draped the temple in soft purple and warm gold. The disciple spoke gently, as if afraid to stir the wind. "Teacher, when I was young, I longed for my family to be proud of me. I wanted success, to be skilled, just to be loved more. Teacher, were you ever like that?" The teacher looked at him, and in that gaze was deep understanding. "Yes," the teacher replied. "I was once like you." The answer made the disciple breathe out in relief. "So, what made you crave that recognition so much?" he asked further. The teacher was silent for a long moment, then spoke slowly. "I wanted them to have more reasons to love me. And deeper still, I wanted myself to have reason to love myself." The disciple listened, his heart stirring. "I thought if they were proud of me, then I would be worthy. All my efforts came from that." The teacher looked up at the sky, where the first stars were beginning to appear. "Until one day," he continued, "I suddenly realized I could ask another question. If I need no recognition from outside, can I still love and accept myself?" That question was light as the wind, yet it shook a lifetime of searching. And that, the teacher smiled, is when the real path of practice begins. Not to find more, but to realize you were already enough. Right now, as you lie here, there is no need to understand more. Just breathe. Just listen. Just let your mind settle like a night lake. Stories will keep drifting, light as clouds, and you can allow yourself to sink into deep sleep. The breath knows the way home. And so do you. The Zen master spoke, still in that gentle voice, like asking someone softly to close a wooden door. If you need money, take it freely. It's in that chest. He tilted his head slightly, pointed to a simple wooden box, then immediately returned to the page of sutra he had been reading, as if nothing unusual had just happened. The thief froze, his sword held high, breath caught in his chest. In all his years of misdeeds, he had never met a reaction like this. No fear, no pleading, no anger, only calm help so unfathomably serene, as if he were a neighbor borrowing something for the evening. Shaking his head in confusion, yet still following the instruction, the thief approached the chest, gathered the coins and a few small items inside. Behind him, the Zen master's chanting continued steadily, soft as flowing water, quiet as if he were sitting alone in an empty room. As the thief prepared to leave, the voice rose again, this time with a note of attention. "Wait," the master said, lifting his head from the sutra. "Don't take it all. I'll need some money tomorrow to pay the taxes. Leave a little for me, will you?" The thief stared at him, eyes wide with astonishment. A man being robbed, yet calmly negotiating the terms of his own theft. Without much thought, almost reflexively, he returned a portion of the money to the chest. Turning away, believing it was over, the Zen master's voice sounded once more, this time with gentle reminder. "You have taken my money," he said, "and haven't even said thank you. A little impolite, isn't it?" The words made the thief's whole body tremble. The sword in his hand shivered slightly. Never before, not even in the fiercest confrontations, had he felt such confusion. A person seeing theft as an act of help. A person valuing courtesy over their own safety. "Thank you," he stammered, then turned and fled into the night as fast as he could. Later, when the thief was caught and confessed many crimes, including that night, the Zen master was called to testify. Officials in the court expected accusations, expected fear and resentment. But the Zen master spoke, still in the calm voice of that night. "This person stole nothing from me. I freely gave him money. And he thanked me, though I had to remind him a little." The thief, bound in chains, felt something break open in his chest. Not ordinary shame, but realization. For the first time in many years, tears flowed. Not from fear, not from pity, but because he had touched something he had never known, unconditional love. After being released, the former thief sought the Zen master and asked to be his disciple. Under patient guidance, he learned to nurture the fearless compassion he had witnessed that night. Years passed, and through steadfast practice and unwavering faith in his teacher, he attained deep serenity. The Buddha taught, hatred cannot end hatred. Only love can dissolve hatred. This story shows us the quiet power of responding to violence with peace, responding to taking with giving, responding to fear with love. When faced with anger, we often think we must fight back. But Zen teaches that the very reaction often only prolongs suffering. A Zen master is not blind. He does not deny danger, but he sees clearly that the root of violence is suffering. Not seeing the one before him as an enemy, he opens another path. A path of courage without defense. Not weakness, but a strength born of wisdom. Tonight, when you remember those who irritate you, the situations that tighten your mind, try pausing for a moment. Between stimulus and response, there is always a space. In that space is freedom. Freedom to choose peace instead of conflict. Freedom to hold steady the center of your own calm. The Buddha once said, "A word that brings peace is worth more than 1,000 empty words." Sometimes, the greatest strength is simply to remain in compassion. And then, as night deepens, we step into another Zen story. A story of that which cannot be conveyed by words. A story of Master Bankei and the messenger. In a bustling capital, amid the sounds of buying and selling, a Zen master prepares to set out. Now, you need not follow further. Let your breath carry you along. Gentle, slow, and deeply calm. The messenger bows slightly and continues, saying his master longs to understand the true nature of the mind and how to directly realize it. If the compassionate teacher instructs, he says, "I promise to convey every word exactly as you say it." Master Bankei listens, his gaze soft, undisturbed. When the man finishes speaking, he sits silently for a long while, as if seeing through not only the question, but the entire circumstance. The seeker absent, the messenger sincere, and the impossibility of what is being requested. Then the master speaks, simply and plainly. Zen, even when teacher and student sit face to face, asking and answering directly, is very difficult to transmit. How much more to convey it through another, no matter how sincere they may be. He says no more. He simply sits in profound stillness, becoming the most living teaching itself. The messenger waits, perhaps hoping for another word or a hint. But there is nothing more. Finally, he bows low and quietly departs, gently puzzled. The Buddha once taught, "Be a lamp unto yourself." That teaching rings clearly in the master's soft refusal. Enlightenment is not information to be passed on. It is transformation that happens only through direct experience of oneself. We often approach the way as we do knowledge, reading, memorizing, analyzing, and passing it on. But Zen reminds us, truth is not in words, but in seeing. The mind cannot become an object to study, for it is the subject doing the studying. Like an eye cannot see itself without a mirror. And even the mirror only reflects, it does not show the true essence. How many times a day do we study meditation without meditating? Read about mindfulness without being mindful right now? Master Dogen said, "To study Buddhism is to study oneself. To study oneself is to forget oneself." This forgetting does not come from knowledge, but from turning directly to the present experience that is happening. The messenger in the story is a reflection of our own tendency. Wanting to understand from a distance, wanting to stand safely outside, wanting to keep the illusion that I am the observer of something called mind. But the mind is not something we have. It is what we are. The master's silence is the teaching, the space between two thoughts, the pause between two breaths, the place where all sensations arise and fade away. It cannot be spoken. It can only be recognized. Tonight, as you notice these words, your breath, your resting body, try not to seek understanding. Only there, knowing that you know. The Buddha teaches, strive diligently to liberate yourself. This path cannot be walked for you. Only your own 2 feet. And then, in that quieting, we step into another story. A story about a young novice who thought he had failed. A story about the golden wave. By a temple overlooking a still mountain lake, a young novice sat with his head bowed on the stone steps as the sun slowly sank into the water. His shoulders were heavy, his eyes full of sorrow. 4 months, he had struggled to keep up with his studies. The sutras would not enter his memory. Meditation often ended in dozing off. "I will have to go home soon," he whispered to the elderly master who had just sat beside him. "They say I have failed. What should I tell my family?" The master gazed at the lake. A small wooden boat glided slowly over the calm water. The sunset bathed everything in warm golden light. "Tell them you did your best," the master replied softly. "That is enough." "But I want to become a skilled monk," the novice choked. "I want to teach others. I want to create something meaningful." "You still can," the master said. "How?" The boy looked up. "I have failed at everything important." The master smiled, pointing to the lake. "Look at that boat." "I see it," the novice said. "Do you see the trail of water behind it?" "Yes." "That boat is you. The lake is life. The wake behind is the influence you leave behind." The ripples spread, wave after wave, never stopping. Each time you live with sincerity, kindness, and awareness, you are teaching the way. No title needed. No lectern required. The novice fell silent, watching the golden trail sparkle in the sunlight, expanding outward. "Master, may I go home and tell my father this?" he asked, hope flickering. The Buddha teaches, a candle loses nothing by lighting another candle. True influence does not come from grand achievements, but from a heart that is upright. Some lessons require no words, only presence. Like that boat, we cannot see the ripples we create, yet they travel silently, reaching shores we may never know. And now, you too can release yourself like the lake at dusk. Let every ripple soften, slowly, deeply, and very peacefully. The Buddha once said, "From one candle, 1,000 candles can be lit, without the first candle being diminished." Happiness is the same. The more it is shared, the more it spreads. Each moment lived with truth quietly becomes a teaching. Every act born of compassion creates gentle waves that reach far. When we choose to respond with wisdom rather than reflex, when we choose silence over argument, choosing forgiveness over judgment, that light quietly reflects back to the vast sky. Tonight, as your body and mind settle, you may softly reflect on the golden waves you have made and are still making. Perhaps it is the patience you offered a difficult loved one. Perhaps it is a word of encouragement given to someone weary. Or simply your full presence in a moment of ordinary life. You do not know whose path that light has illuminated, yet it continues to spread, silently, like water ripples under evening light. And now we listen to another story about appearances that deceive, about the masks we wear to be accepted. This is the story of a mendicant abbot and the dazzling robe. In a bustling market street of an ancient eastern city, where wealthy merchants built high-walled, locked mansions, there lived a man famous for his riches. His mansion was carved with jade, the gardens full of exotic birds, servants coming and going endlessly. He was proud of his status and especially careful to preserve his reputation. One morning, as autumn rain fell lightly on the stone streets, a figure appeared at the grand gate. It was a Zen master from the mountains, but his appearance resembled a beggar. A brown robe patched and worn, sandaled feet matted with forest mud, a dark wooden alms bowl marked by the years. The master stood quietly in the rain, asking nothing, pressing nothing, simply waiting with a calm tempered by years of practice. The gatekeeper saw him, and his gaze immediately turned cold. "What do you want?" he asked sharply. "This is the house of the wealthy. There is no leftover food for wanderers." The Zen master bowed lightly. "I am on the path of practice, and I ask for a simple meal." The gatekeeper looked at the tattered robe, then waved him away. "Go. My master does not give alms to beggars." The Zen master felt no anger, offered no explanation. He simply bowed quietly, holding his bowl, and turned to step into the rain. A few hours later, as the clouds parted and the afternoon sun shone, a figure appeared at the gate again. But this time, everything was different. The Zen master wore a golden silk ceremonial robe, embroidered with intricate patterns, a soft purple sash draped over his shoulder, a string of precious wooden beads glimmering in the sunlight. His walk remained humble, but a dignity radiated that could not be hidden. The gatekeeper was stunned, bowing deeply. "Welcome, great master. Please enter. My master would be greatly honored." The householder hurried out, bowing repeatedly, words full of respect. A lavish feast was prepared, delicate dishes covering the low table. Just as the meal was set, the master rose. He slowly removed the splendid robe, folded it neatly, and placed it before the dishes, as if the robe itself were the honored guest. The master spoke softly yet clearly, "This meal is not for me. It is for the robe." Then he turned and walked away, leaving behind a heavy silence and an undeniable truth. The Buddha once taught, "Do not judge a person by their clothing. A rich heart may be hidden beneath a humble robe." This story reflects a habit all too familiar. We see appearances and quickly assign value. We honor titles, admire the outward, revere symbols, while forgetting the human nature beneath. The Zen master remains the same person, the same wisdom, the same compassion. Only the way others treat him changes. Gently look back at the judgments in your own life. Between luxury cars and old cars, between fine clothing and simple robes, between prestigious addresses and quiet neighborhoods. Zen teaches the original face. The pure face never born, never extinguished. That essence remains unchanged no matter the roles we carry. Tonight, as the masks of the long day are laid down, you may sense the pure presence quietly observing all. No need to become someone else. No need to be recognized. Simply, a word that brings peace sometimes need not be spoken. A silent action can echo farther than 1,000 sermons. And now, as your breath grows deeper, your body softer, we step into another story about clear flowing water and the courage to let go and drift with life. From the moment of birth, every creature in that river was taught one thing: hold on tight. Hold to the cold stones at the bottom. Hold to the roots trapped in the current. Hold tight, as if life itself depends entirely on it. The elders whispered over the years, "Do not let go. The water is strong. It will carry you to unknown places. Safety is staying right here." And so, day after day, they gripped tighter, small hands trembling with fatigue, bodies stiffened with fear. Only one tiny creature slowly grew weary of this endless grasping. Each day, as the water flowed silently above, it looked up and saw the current was neither chaotic nor hurried, but carried a deep, slow, deliberate rhythm. While those around it complained of aches, of exhaustion, the small creature wondered, "What if I trust the flow?" One very gentle morning, it spoke what had been in its heart. "I am tired of holding on. Though I cannot see the destination, I trust the water knows its way. If I continue to cling, I fear I will die without ever truly living." The river shuddered with gasps. Horrified eyes turned toward it. "Madness! Let go, and you will be torn apart. The pain will kill you faster than boredom ever could." But the small creature had decided. It glanced one last time at familiar faces, hands curled in fear. It let go. Immediately, the current took it, and just as warned, its tiny body tumbled, banging from stone to stone. Pain surged, a pain never known while clinging. But then, a miracle happened. As it stopped trying to hold on, as it ceased resisting, the water began to lift it. The collisions became fewer. The riverbed no longer touched. It no longer tumbled. It floated with the flow, not against it, without fear, no seeking support. It did not move along the river. It became part of the river. In distant bends of the river, other creatures saw a sight never before seen. The being like them, yet moving gently as if flying. Magic! A savior! Surely it has come to free us. The floating creature heard them, and in its heart rose a deep compassion. "I am no greater than you," it whispered. "The river is ready to lift us all, if we dare let go. Our true work is not clinging to the bottom, but living fully through this journey." But the cries of "Savior" grew louder, and at the same time, the hands clung tighter than ever. When a being disappears around the bend, they begin to tell the old stories. Stories of a savior who came and then vanished. The Buddha once taught, "We only lose what we cling to." We spend our lives holding on to safety, holding on to control, holding on to the familiar. And it is in that holding that we create suffering. From childhood, we are taught that the familiar is safe, the unfamiliar is dangerous. If this belief is left unilluminated, it becomes the chain that binds the heart. Life is an endless flow. Resisting it only leaves us exhausted. Quietly, look at what you are holding. An old relationship, a path that no longer nourishes you, an image of yourself that feels too tight. The flow of change keeps moving whether you hold on or not. Tonight, in this stillness, what can you let go? Let go of tomorrow's worries. Let go of yesterday's regrets. Let go of the need to become something. The Buddha teaches, let go of what has passed. Let go of what is yet to come. Let go of what is happening. Right now, rest. The water you once feared is the very path that brings you home. And now let your mind drift into another story. A story of faith and the power of the mind. There was a general facing a battle he could not win. Few soldiers. A difficult terrain. All calculations pointed to defeat. Yet within him, there was a strange calm, an unshakable trust. He worried not about the enemy, but about fear in the soldiers' hearts. He knew an army defeated in mind will be defeated on the battlefield. Before battle, he led them to a small temple. They prayed together. Then he drew a coin. If it lands on this side, we win. The other side, we lose. The coin tossed and landed victory. Cheers erupted. Faith ignited, and they won. After the battle, the general showed the coin. Both sides were the same. The Buddha teaches, mind leads all things. Mind creates the world. Not a miracle, but the power of faith in the right place. You cannot control every outcome, but you can nourish the heart with which you enter life. Now let all stories fade. Only stillness remains. This peace is not something you create. It has always been here, beneath every thought. As you sink into sleep, carry this gentle sense of release. No need to hold on. No need to strive. Just float and rest. Sleep well. Be anchored and return home within yourself. And now, there is nothing more to understand. No story to remember. No lesson to cling to. Like a leaf that has left its branch, like a breath returning to stillness, every thought can quietly dissolve, naturally, without hurry. If a thought drifts by, let it float like a cloud across the night sky. Do not chase. Do not push away. Simply notice and let go. Your body has done enough for today. Your heart has carried what it needed to carry. Now is the time to rest completely. Feel your breath finding its own rhythm. So, each exhale is a release. Each inhale is a gentle support. No need to go anywhere. No need to become anyone. Right now, you are enough. The Buddha teaches, peace is not found somewhere far away, but appears when we stop searching. Let the mind settle like a lake after the wind. Let the body sink into the warmth of the bed. If there is anything in you that cannot yet be fully released, whisper to yourself, it's okay. I can let go little by little in safety. Sleep is not losing consciousness, but returning to the natural rhythm that has nourished you from the beginning. No need to force sleep, just rest, and sleep will come on its own. In this stillness, everything is accepted. Everything is held. Let the flow carry you gently, deeply, and when dawn comes, you will awaken not because you forced it, but because you have fully rested. Let your eyes close. Breath softens. Thoughts dissolve. Only the gentle stillness remains to lull you into deep sleep. Sleep well. Be anchored, and return to the peace that is yours. And just like that, there is nothing more to do. No need to stay awake. No need to follow every word. Just let this sound flow like a very slow stream across your mind and dissolve. If consciousness fades, it is not loss of control, but a sign that you are being supported. Let your shoulders drop a little. Jaw relax. Forehead soften. Let the whole body be heavy and safe. Each exhale is a quiet whisper, I do not need to cling. Each inhale is a gentle reminder, I am being held. nothing to achieve, no place to go, only rest unfolding naturally. In the Zen spirit, when there is no effort to become, we touch what already is. And what is gentle, peaceful. If any image appears, let it blur like mist. If memories come, let them pass. No chasing, no clinging. Sleep does not come from effort, but from permission. Permission to dissolve into the quiet night. Permission for body and mind to heal in their own way. You do not need to understand anything more. Understanding has closed. Only feeling remains, like being placed in warm earth, like being supported by flowing water. If you can still hear this voice, treat it as a distant wind. If you no longer hear me, that is completely okay. All is right. All is enough. Now rest. No thoughts. No direction. Just float and sleep. Sleep deeply. Sleep peacefully. Sleep within the ever-present calm. And now, all boundaries begin to dissolve. No longer clear where the body ends, where the bed begins, where the breath is. There is only a vast, soft feeling embracing everything. If there is still a trace of awareness, let it fade like a dim light before it fully goes out. No need to hold on. No need for fear. In Zen, when we stop searching for support, the whole universe becomes our support. The breath now needs no attention. It comes on its own. It goes on its own. You do not need to help. You do not need to intervene. Each inhale and exhale lulls the nervous system back into its original state of safety. Like a child placed in warm arms, without needing to understand why, still completely at ease. If a thought flickers gently, it is not an intruder. It is only the last trace of the long day coming to a close. Let it sink down, sink deep, like a pebble dropping into still water. No need to follow sleep. No need to wait for the moment of sleep. That moment already happens when you stop seeking it. Now let the full weight of your life be laid down. Every burden need not be carried through the night. Tomorrow will care for itself. The Buddha teaches, when all clinging is released, the mind returns to its true nature, bright, calm. In this calm, there is no lack, no mistake, nothing to fix, only deep rest spreading from inside out, from outside in. If you still hear these final words, let them become a lullaby. If not, let them dissolve naturally into silence. No ending, no farewell, only deeper night, softer breath, and you sleeping.